welcome once again to another new and exciting episode of RegTech Talks. In today's topic, we are covering something that has been the pet peeve of all financial professionals around the globe: mastering regulatory compliance. As the landscape continues to evolve with new and complex rules coming into the fray, maintaining compliance is becoming increasingly challenging. That said, I would now want to welcome our speaker for today's show, Akanksha. Welcome to RegTech Talks. How is it going?
Thank you so much, Shobhan. It's going amazing as usual.
So in this episode, what are we going to talking about today and what new is in it there? And please walk us through the agenda and then we can kick it off.
Awesome. Let's go for the agenda. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a few interesting pieces as we move towards a little bit deeper into the segment. First, we'll start off with understanding what exactly does technology bring into the world of finance. What is the ROI of tech in finance? Slowly, as we move deeper, let's try and understand, why regulations, why reporting seems super heavy on all of us finance professionals, and how disclosure management can actually solve this problem. So we'll understand how disclosure management is not just going to be a tool for any organization, rather it's actually going to be a strategic asset for every organization. And then, of course, as promised earlier, we'll give a little bit sneak preview of our platform. We'll understand how we as Iris Carbon are using AI and automation when it comes to disclosure management and what we are doing in the world of reporting. And we'll take it up with a Q&A session. So this is going to be the agenda for this particular session, and I'm very excited to kickstart our session.
That's a power-packed agenda right there. Very excited for the show today, and without further ado, I'll let you kick it off.
So let's do one thing. We've got two very interesting pictures on the screen right now. So I want each of you to rack your brain a little bit, and let's get into the heart of what this really means. So how many of you have ever bought a gym membership? Everybody who's watching this, raise your hands. And how many of you have gone there consistently? Like, I'm very shyly raising my hand. So the thought that I came up with, what I was thinking is, when you buy a particular gym membership, you're not exactly investing in the weights or the trainer, right? When we are buying a gym membership, we are generally paying for the idea of who we will become when we buy that membership. So we might just over the course of time become stronger, become fitter, much more confident in our body, in our capabilities, and so on. Similarly, let me take the example of a lipstick. For a lipstick, whenever I'm buying a lipstick, I'm not buying just a tube, right? I'm going to buy that lipstick because I know it gives me some amount of confidence and adds some color onto my face. So what I'm trying to say here with this slide is that, hey, listen, whenever we are buying any products, generally we don't buy products only because they are products in the market. We buy products because we are actually buying outcomes. So what really matters to you and what really matters to me is the outcome, and it's never about the tool. So let me tell you why I say outcomes are very important. Because it's very important for us to understand now what exactly is the outcome of technology, especially us as finance professionals. We are burdened by so many activities that go on year-round, right? So then, if I want to bring about technology also into my life, is it going to make my life easier or is it going to complicate my life? Is something that we very closely think about, right? Let's just do one thing. Let's have a quick poll in the middle. So, Shobhan, can you put up the poll, please? Let's see what the poll question is.
Absolutely. The poll's coming up right away.
Awesome. So I'm just going to read it out. So everyone who's joined us here, what outcome do you most want for technology to deliver in your reporting process? So we've got the options up: having a single source of truth for all your data, meeting deadlines completely stress-free, faster review cycles, or error-free compliance. Which one would you choose? Looking at all of these options, I personally would choose all of them. But if you had to choose the one and only, which one would you choose? since we talked a little bit about, yes, we would want all our outcomes to be achieved. Even in the poll, we saw a couple of outcomes that you and I would want to be achieved. Now, when we want those outcomes to be achieved, then let's say we identify the right technology also to achieve it. But most of the times, even after identifying the right technology, what generally happens is that our implementation cycles fail. So what happens when an implementation fails? Then what the technology is also not adapted in the right manner, and that also goes for a toss, right? So here's a reality check that we want to give you. It's actually, you know what, not just a reality check for now, but even we had spoken about this in our first RegTech Talk episode, where we spoke a little bit about AI and automation being a strategic pillar in finance, where you are designing systems to meet the needs and requirements of finance people, and it's not vice versa. So if there is a distinct, let's say an AI or an automation committee or a technology committee who's making decisions for people who are actually working within the finance space, then the systems are designed not to fit into the lives of the people, rather to position people around the system. And that's not a great way to work, right? So finance and technology have to work hand in hand. And when I say they have to work hand in hand, I mean that technology has to fit into the world of finance. So that's why implementation is very important. It's not the technology that usually fails in any organization. It's very much the implementation that fails in an organization because of two problems like we've put on the screen. One is the system first design, decide the system and then place people around it. And second, fragmented data approach. What do we mean by fragmented data? If everybody is the owner of the data, then nobody is the real owner at all. So we'll understand a little bit deeper into how technology and implementation also works hand in hand when it comes to disclosure management, and how easy an implementation cycle for a disclosure management also is. All right, so now here's a point for me and you to ponder. If automation fails when people are forced to fit into the system, then what's the right way to build it? So we'll understand this a little bit on what is the right way to build any system. All right, this is kind of like my favorite slide, though I like to add a little bit of science in reporting. That's why it's my favorite slide. Now I'll tell you why. Now let's take an example of your central nervous system in our body, right? A central nervous system is what keeps us human beings in sync. The brain makes the decisions, the neurons carry messages and pass signals instantly to every muscle, every organ, and that's how every part of our body knows exactly what it needs to do. And that's how our body also reacts appropriately. Now, if someone were to throw water onto me from my side, of course I'm going to deflect, right? So that's the entire working of a central nervous system. Now, how do I bring about a connection between a central nervous system and a disclosure management? So let me just take a moment to explain that. See, if you apply this philosophy into your financial reporting, you will know that a disclosure management platform, by the way, the word disclosure management, for a lot of us who've joined who are new to this market, who are still trying to understand how to completely automate their system, their manual working, it will be a little bit of alien to you. Some of you, I'm sure, do know the platform in the do know the words, because in the Europe and the US, it's quite a common terminology. So in time, we will also understand a little bit more about disclosure management. We'll dive deeper into it. But for now, let's stay on the fact that yes, the disclosure management platform isn't just a tool that is used in isolation. Rather, it is the central nervous system for your reporting. So how so? Like I took the example of brains. The brain is your data and your logic, where the truth actually begins. So from the brain comes the network of neurons. So that network of neurons is your entire platform that's carrying, signals. When I say signals, then they are like those change reports that we have in the platform, the approval matrix that we have in the platform, the taggings that we do in the platform. All of the things that we do with data, including audit trails and preparation, so on and so forth, everything instantly between systems and people is the entire network of neurons that keeps every part connected to one another and updated in real time. Now, body parts means what? Body parts are actually your teams and your reports, your auditors, your finance folks, your legal team, your compliance folks. Anyone and everyone that has to do with your reporting, even your designers for that matter, will all come under this umbrella. All the parts that act on data and move in sync with one another are covered by the disclosure management platform. So let's all kind of repeat after me. Disclosure management is not an isolated app, but a central nervous system because it works on two distinct principles, that is clean data and connected people. So let me take a moment. All right, so now we've got the weight of compliance. All right, all the finance folks here, please raise your hand. Everybody is going to start crying when they look at the slide. I did too, because for the number of years that I worked in audit and finance, I mean, annual reports, quarterly reports, this deadline, that deadline, everything used to feel like such a drag. And we know for the fact that when it comes to compliance, when it comes to the sort of amount it takes for us to actually meet with the regulatory requirements, it's very long. The entire period or the entire gestation period is too long. Why is it long? Because hey, we have to comply with multi-formats. When I say multi-formats, for example, like in India, we have an XBRL reporting as well. We have a reporting with our MCA regulator. We have a reporting that we need to do as a listed company with the BSE, NSE. Then we have, if I take ESIF for an example, ESIF, you folks out there have a multi-language reporting also. So if I am an Italian company, I will have to report in Italian, I will have to report in English as well, and multi-jurisdiction. If I am a company in Italy, but I have operations, let's say, in the US, then I'll have to file my financials, that is my 20F, let's say, with the US SEC. So again, the weight of compliance when it comes to all sorts of reporting, which are actually like a cobweb and super connected to one another, is again, it's crazy. I don't think anyone's foreign to this. So now I've placed two numbers on your screen, 180 and 2200. So can any of you guess what these numbers actually mean? I'm just going to take a pause and you can see the numbers 180 and 2200. If you need a hint, maybe I can tell you this has something to do with time or hours. Just going to wait for 5 seconds more till you all rack your brain, then I can switch screen. I wish we could talk, but it's a listen only webinar for now. Slowly we can also open up the webinars for more conversations as well. So drum rolls here, 180 hours and 2200 hours is what I was indicating at. So these are not just numbers that I have made up, I've put it out here, but the US SEC says that for preparing a quarterly report, an organization takes 180 hours for preparing one single quarterly report. And when they have to go ahead and prepare their annual reports, now all our US customers and couple of prospects who have come into the chat here, you are maybe spending around 2000 plus hours in preparing your annual reports and preparing your 10Ks. That's crazy. That's not just expensive, but that's exhausting as well. And of course, if those things don't go on time, then there's very heavy penalties, there are heavy fines, and not to mention, because you have to deal with so many other people. Now there could be, let's take an example of an annual report. You have your, of course, finance folks, you have your CFO, the management, whoever is participating in preparing your annual report, the CXOs, the CEO, CFO, and then you will have your legal teams as well. You'll have your secretarial team, your compliance team, marketing team will also jump in. There'll be certain business teams also who will jump in, who all can jump in. Maybe the designers will also jump in because, hey, you might want to create those very highly stylized investor-ready reports. And your XBRL vendors will also jump in because you will have to do your tagging and so on and so forth. So many people, so much coordination, so many data points, and the rest is history, right? So that's why reporting feels super heavy. So when I say it feels super heavy, that means there are two problems associated with it. One is the data related costs, and the other cost, which generally we tend to ignore, but which is most crucial, is the human related cost. So what do I mean by the data related costs? So when I say data related costs, first thing is data inconsistency. Now it's, it's a universal truth that there's one number of, let's take an example of revenue, very easy for us to relate to. A number in revenue which is sitting in your profit and loss account, which is sitting in your notes to accounts, maybe it's sitting in some portion in your MD&A section, and it's hidden somewhere around the report and maybe like a key event section. You make changes in 1, 2, 3 places. You forget to make a change in the 4th place. So how is it going to happen? What is the risk related to it? The risk related to it is big. It's a data inconsistency, and this has actually happened also. And one of the regulators, not going to name it now, we can open the chat box and you can guess, has actually caught such sort of inconsistencies time and again for many companies. So of course there is data inconsistency, not just in terms of numbers, in terms of what you're putting out there as well. There is also a version control chaos while you're preparing the report. So when I say version control chaos, what do I mean by it? I mean that, like we said, so many people are going to work on one particular document. Is that how your organization is working? Or are you chasing behind various streams for various parts of the document? Hey, legal team is submitting the documents in some, Word documents probably, and then your finance team, obviously very hard to get finance teams out of their Excels. Why should they? They're most productive and most comfortable there. CFO is reviewing some other version of some other document. And by the time